instance, for your car registration, we cross-check it with the industry database. If it is genuine, our system will accept it. If it's not genuine, our system will not accept it. So we have huge collaboration.
Then came the turn of Dr. Abubakar Suleiman. Expectedly, lawmakers sought his views on the problem of incessant strikes by university lecturers.
What would be the alternative, or would you consider alternative means of putting pressure to solve problems instead of strikes? One. Number two, is it right for lecturers or workers in universities to proceed on strikes on matters that do not concern the welfare of the teachers, of the workers, or the students, and to go on strike on purely national political issues?
The incessant strike in the universities, in the tertiary institutions, it's not something that could be eradicated in its entirety, because it has to do with contestation for the limited resources. We have institutions in places, we have structures in places. Those structures, in most cases, are not being, updated, and the rate at which people count in the intake into the universities and tertiary institutions keep on increasing. So it's a case of population explosions without a corresponding increase in facilities. And when that happens, it's not just for lecturers to talk about their welfares, it's not just for lecturers to talk about their dues, not just for them to talk about their salaries. They have to talk about the condition of the student in terms of facilities in the hostels, in terms of facilities in the classroom, in terms of facilities in the laboratory. So long as we have these scarce resources, there will be that contestation. There will be that uproar. There will be demands from lecturers on the issues to review our base facilities in the university. I would want to believe that lecturers are enemy of the society. I would want to believe that lecturers are just fighting for the sake of fighting. Their yearnings is about the welfare of the students. The only thing we can do, therefore, perhaps to reduce this incessant strike in the university and tertiary institutions, is for government to look into our revenue, measures. How the revenues are not okay. UNESCO talk about 26%, percentage for us to meet. We can't meet that one going by what is available in the country. What do? We have to look at our tax regime. There are so many aspects of tax, regime that we have to look into, especially in terms of ensuring that other avenues that government could explore to get more money to improve on our facilities, is done. The test fund is doing a wonderful job. Other intervention regimes are doing a wonderful job, but government needs to go beyond that.
I want to ask you whether you still believe in the cardinal policy of Africa being the cornerpiece of our foreign policy as demonstrated by our people, our government over the years, or whether you think that there are things that we need to do to expand the frontiers of our international relations.
The Eastern world today, especially China, is the most leading developed country in the world. Therefore, any serious country that wants to protect and promote our national interests cannot do without the Eastern world, especially China, especially the Koreas, Poland, and other Western world. Nigeria remains a truly non-aligned country, and in the globalized environment of this nature, our foreign policy should be defined by our national interests. Where we can make benefits, where we can gather interest, where we can protect our interests, that should be the country that we relate with. That should define the contours of our rapport with that country. So I want to support you, the Senior Senator, therefore, that Nigerians should do much with the Eastern world. We have more to gain in terms of economic fortunes. We have more to gain in terms of technology developments. We cannot do without them.
Done with the screening, the Senate confirmed Mr. Osita Chidoka and Dr. Abubakar Suleiman as ministers. You're welcome back to the Gavel. The House of Representatives during the week organized a public hearing to examine a controversial issue, the establishment of a new regulatory body called the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Authority, NEMSA. Now, professionals in the electricity sector have been divided over the establishment of the agency. Critics have said the establishment of a new agency would duplicate functions already carried out by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, and also confuse operators. So let's see more of what views were expressed during the public hearing. The National Assembly is making moves for the establishment of a new regulatory body, the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Authority, NEMSA, to handle electricity management services alongside the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. The Joint Committee of the Senate and House of Representatives on Power held a public hearing for key players to look into objections raised by the Regulatory Commission that the two regulatory bodies operating simultaneously would cause conflicts besides duplicating costs and confusing operators.
The post-privatization power sector has shown that there is an urgent need for a technical agency that can rise up to the challenge of bridging these obvious gaps. In this regard, we cannot afford to leave the enforcement of technical standards, inspection and certification of all electrical installations, equipment and materials in the industry without an effective and efficient enforcement and regulatory regime. Safety of citizens in all aspects is the sole responsibility of government, and we cannot emphasize this enough. The essence of this bill is to establish an authority that will fully and efficiently enforce technical conformity.
I'm not unmindful of the fact that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission had written to me about their reservation on this issue. But let me also say that all these were envisaged, and that was why the Electricity Sector Reform Act of 2005 indeed brought into being and registered some of these companies. And as we move on and as we conclude on privatization and ensuring that our critical infrastructure are handed over to private companies, there's the need for us now to ensure that we can strengthen an organization who will be saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that standards are kept. So we are supporting this bill, and I want to say that institutions will overlive all of us. Institutions are not made for any individual.
The Ministry of Power said establishing the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Authority would help reduce the function overload on the NERC in an industry that requires highly specialized skills and expertise.
We felt that our function is policy, and there was no need for me, as Permanent Secretary, to be dealing with issues of, we have area offices, 15 area offices around the country, and the policy was to have an area office in every single state to look at issues of equipment, materials being used, and so on. And for us to focus on policy in a sector that is so important, we shouldn't be a Kumba, because I used to get reports almost on a daily basis from our field offices all over the country on their field inspections. So the ministry on its own wrote to the head of service asking for permission that all the staff, field staff of the EIS department, which is under the ministry and under the eyepiece of government, should be transferred to this new organization together with assets of the organization so that they can function and serve Nigerians. That was approved, and we exercised that part of our responsibility to that organization.
But despite the wide approval by stakeholders in the industry, Sam Amadi of the NERC